Hello there, and God bless you. Here I am again, trying to make a video speaking about World War II and the post war in Germany, how it was for us after the war ended. My daughter and I are trying to make these videos in order to help teachers that are teaching history to have something to go by from someone that went through this time in history. And I did this when I was a 6-year-old girl, and I was 11 when the war ended. There's much I have to tell, and a 15-minute video is certainly not enough to tell the whole story. But we made quite a few videos since we started this, and I hope that each and every one will help someone to teach the lesson of what it was like growing up under a dictatorship. It was a horrible time, a very horrible time for not just the German people, but all the Jewish people, the millions that lost their life in concentration camps. Uh, we suffered, we Germans certainly suffered under Hitler. And there were some German people like my dad that was a political prisoner under Adolf Hitler that suffered just as much as the Jewish families in the concentration camps. This was a horrible, horrible time. And it was a blessing when this war ended. It was a blessing for the remnant of Israel, German Jews, when they were coming out of the concentration camps. And it was a shock for us, the German people, to know what went on all this time in Germany. That some people that were aware of it were not able to talk about because it endangered their own families. We were shocked when the war ended. And like I said before, many years after this, and I mean right now, in 2022, me being an old woman, I still feel guilty that something like this happened and we were not aware about this. The war years after not the war years, but the years after the war were certainly still difficult for all of us, because you do not go through something like this without having consequences. The city was destroyed. The Allied forces, when they spoke with one another in Potsdam, decided to divide the capital city into 4 parts. And the western part was heaven, and compared to the eastern part, that was like hell. The western part rebuilt it, tried to do it very quickly. And of course, the German people, most of all the women, were trying to help to clear the rubble away. They tried to rebuild. They tried to bring life back into that dead city. And it certainly was, in comparison to the eastern part, like we lived in daytime or in heaven, and the eastern part lived in hell or so-called darkness. Our stores opened up again. They had wares to show. People that had money were able to buy them. Schools were able to teach again, and the children were happily going to school. And some that could afford it were going after school to college, and then found places in the working positions that they were looking for. Some people came back into some money, while other people had to struggle for it. And my family definitely struggled. Black market was all over West Berlin and also clear into the borders toward East Berlin. That meant people could trade goods for something better when they had something to trade. There were people among the black marketeers that cheated people like me that were trying to buy something. And so you found the good as well as the bad in the after-war years. The youth in Germany was definitely affected by when the war ended, especially the boys. They were trying to become kind of like good-hearted hoodlums, but they were certainly different. and all due because of the things they suffered during the war. We girls also had our trouble spots. Some of them, when they came out of school and couldn't find placement and work, also turned to the bad side of things in order to earn money. Uh, they sold themselves. And I could see things like that in every direction, even in the good part of our town. There was misery still to be felt that needed to be gotten rid of. And only by working on ourselves could we rid ourselves of all the bad that we had been going through. And it took a lot of help from what I believed in, and that is God, and a lot of help from the Allied forces that tried to help us rebuild and believe that we could be better people and live in a better world than what we had to leave behind us. All of this was going on in post-war Germany, and most of all in the capital city of Berlin. There were still elements at work that were looking for Nazi sympathizers. And so in our west part of town, also there could be killings, there could be removal of people by people that came across from the east into West Berlin, and they snatched the citizens that they wanted, that had a knowledge out of West Berlin, to carry them over into East Berlin and put them to work, probably in Russia or in whatever places where they couldn't run away from. And these people that were snatched off the street, that were important to the east part of Berlin or Germany, were never seen and heard from again. All these things were going on even so the war ended. In my hometown, it was still a dangerous time for everyone. This is what I want for people to know. Nothing is gotten rid of without a price to be paid for it. And it will take years to rebuild a country, and it will take years to rebuild people from the inside out when they had gone through so much misery, through so much heartache. And my family was part of all of this. I also want to talk about when did I leave Berlin? Now, I was enclosed in that city, and around us was Russia. I could not leave to go into Western Germany. I was shut into that city, into West Berlin. But a German soldier fell in love with me, and I with him, when I was a working girl. And by the time of my 17th birthday, somebody introduced me to a young American soldier who fell in love with me, who put a ring on my finger, and then married me with the promise we were going as a family to America. And my family, my mom and dad and my brothers that did return from World War II, understood that I would leave my home country and go to another one that we all thought was better than where I came from. So in 1954, I went to America. And with me went two children, our son Danny and our daughter Linda. And the train pulled out of Berlin with my family waving, sending me to Bremerhaven. I got on a ship there, General Patch, and with many, many war brides, I came to America. In 1954, I said goodbye to my homeland, and I came to America. And I was welcomed by my husband's family. They met us in St. Louis. And I think with this, I have to say goodbye because I don't think I have much more time left to tell you the rest of the story. But I will tell you just a little bit more. From St. Louis, we got into the family car, a white Ford, and we drove to Caney, Kansas. My children and I were sitting in the back seat with my new mother-in-law, and my husband, Gary, sat in the front seat with his father, my father-in-law, talking all the way up a storm. And I was with big eyes and big ears looking around and seeing the beautiful large land that was our new home. I couldn't believe the beauty of this country that was so big and so wonderful. And everywhere I looked, I saw nothing of destruction. Everything was like brand new. To me, it looked like, heaven, but I should say the promised land. The land that my husband Gary promised me to make my home, our home in. And our first home was in Caney, Kansas, on the little farm. The dog welcomed us when we drove into the yard. And then I met my brother-in-law Eddie when he came home from school, and he was only 6 years younger than I, 7 years younger than I. But I was welcomed with open arms to America and to my husband's family. And with this, I need to close this video and probably make another one in order to end it in the right way. So for right now, dear friends, I will say goodbye and God bless you. And next time, a little bit more. Bye for now.